Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to Huckleberries. Karrie here today, and we are going to talk about Creative Grid's Alaska ruler. Some of you may be familiar with the Alaska Rainbow Quilt by Laundry Basket Quilts. When this pattern was originally done, it had templates, but Creative Grids came out with a ruler. So it makes the cutting a lot easier. So today I'm going to show you the block patterns that come with the ruler. Many of you may be familiar with Creative Grids rulers, but they come with these great foldouts with all your measurements, how to lay out the ruler. And what's great with this is you get 4 sizes. You get 9-inch, 10.5, 12, or 16. So I highly recommend making a table runner or a pillow, or at least do practice blocks. And who wants to do a practice block you can't use? So let's make a pretty runner. And I will show you how to make the 2 blocks that are included in your instructions, but they do show you more blocks that you can do, and they are explained, these ones are explained in the pattern. But these 2 blocks come with your ruler. So let's start with cutting. So today I decided to do the 12-inch finished block for my runner. And I did, like I say, we're gonna do the 2 different blocks, but I ended up only using the one in the runner because I just liked it better. So the shapes we're gonna cut, the first one is a diamond, and I'm not gonna rhyme off all of the cuts or sizes because it is on your sheet. And if you lose this, you can get it on the Creative Grid site. So don't worry if you lose it, they have it there. What we're gonna start with is cutting the diamond. So we're gonna cut this diamond shape. So the first thing we need is an angle on our fabric. So I'm gonna go to the end here. Oops, sorry, I'm just gonna make this straight. I've already cut off of this one. So I'm going to take the nose of the ruler, lay it down on the strip, then I'm going to cut and cut. So that gets me started. Then I turn this over and I'll lay this on. And for this particular one, I am using the X's on the ruler. And I just cut. And then I'll go through and do the appropriate number. Oops, I got that one off. I'll do the appropriate number for the quilt. As we see, I made a boo-boo there, so I'm gonna cut that one again. Sorry about that. I'm gonna lay that on there. And cut. And I also will turn it and nub the other end here.
Was it just too narrow?
It was me, yeah. I should have double checked that I had that angle correct. There we go. Perfect. So I would cut 4 of the green. In this case, I'm only using a couple colors. If you want to use more colors, you would of course change up the colors. So I did do 4 of the green, and then I did 4 of the polka dot. The next shape we want to cut are these triangles. And again, the measurements are on the strip, so I'm not going to go through all the measurements. And many of you would have done this with a 60-degree ruler possibly in the past. So the first one, I'm going to have to cut on both sides. And the suggestion is to change your blade. I'm sure many of you are like me and you wait until it's super, super dull before you change it. And a rotating mat is really handy if you have one. So I would just continue on each side of the strip. So this one, I'm going to cut from this side. I'm going to line that up. So I would carry on. And you can fold this if you're comfortable, but until you're comfortable with the ruler, you might want to do a single layer, then you only mess up one, instead of folding this and then if you slip. But once you're comfortable, I would go ahead and I do 2 layers at a time. And I would again cut, I'm going to cut 8 of the green, and then I did 8 of the polka dot. And then we're on to our next shape. Now the optional block, sorry, I did say there were 2 blocks. So this block doesn't do all those small pieces. It does a larger triangle, which we still cut with this ruler. So we're going to do the same thing again. I'll start at the straight edge. You lay the ruler down, and I go right there. And again, the cuts are on the sheet, so I'm not rhyming off all the cuts for you. I just line that up and do the exact same thing again. Change your blade. And again, I would just cut 4 large triangles in the green and then 4 in my polka dot. And then we're on to our last shape. So this one is just a half square. So I've got my square already cut here. I'm just going to lay my ruler down. I'm going corner to corner. And I'm going to cut. So I would use my regular ruler to cut the strip, cut my squares, and I'm just using the Alaska ruler to do it in half. And these were my corners. So it'd be 4 corners here, 4 corners on that one. Okay, and then I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about how to sew these together. And this is where you want to practice. And the big thing, I love steam. Love using lots and lots of steam when I iron, or when I make blocks. Do not on this one. Okay, this one, we're going to do a lot of finger pressing until we're ready to assemble. So to do these pieces, we're going to sew this piece to this piece. All I do is I fold this in half and get my crease. And you can see that on the green. Then I crease my triangle. And I line that up. You can put a pin if you like right there. Okay, and then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine. We've got our securing stitch. I don't like to sew on pins. Don't recommend it. Now, normally I would press this with an iron, but again, I do not recommend pressing this with an iron right now. I finger press, or if you have one of the nice little rollers, that works great. If you're worried about it showing through, you can open your seam if you wish, but I did not end up opening my seams. I left it like that. Now we can use our ruler to trim this. So I'm going to line that up. So they have a line here going right across, and I'm just lining that up there. Just getting rid of the tail, and then if I have just a little hair there, I'm getting rid of that. Turn that over. And I'm just getting rid of that. All right. So that is one corner of my block. So for that, I would just continue, I would lay everything out. Sew these four, sew that triangle, then I sew these together going across, then I do the final assembly here. And whoops, sorry. And then I'll show you on these smaller pieces. There are holes in the ruler, and these are so you can mark where you're going to be sewing. So I'm going to lay down the diamond. Does it show better on here or on here?
Probably with the green.
Okay. So I'm laying my diamond down, and I'm laying my triangle on top. And if I want to know where to pin that exactly, take your ruler, lay it there, and I put a dot. Then I would actually should do my diamond too. Flip that over. Lie it there. Do a dot. Do my other dot. So now I'm going to take that pin. I'm going to be here. I'm going to want to have this right there.
Well, that's cool.
So you want to lay that right like that. And again, I would sew that. I want to stay a little straighter than I just did. There we go. And again, I'm going to finger press. Or if you have a little, we have the nice roller, that also works. Finger press. So I would repeat the same on the other side. So I've already got one here. So again, we can use our nice ruler. And she does have, this is all laid out on how to do the trimming. Okay, so that one. Can actually just check. I should be 6.5. And I'm like really close. So I'm just gonna take my ruler and come across, and I'm gonna just, and I can check that I have a 1/4 inch right there. It's the edge of the ruler. It's probably hard to see, but I've got the 1/4 inch right there. And give that a trim. So I would do the same thing again. I'm just going to put this here so you can see it. And I do apologize that there's 2 shades of green. I ran out. So I'm going to pick this up. I'm going to do the exact same thing I did with the big triangle. I mean, here I can see my point, but I'm giving that a crease. I'm giving this a crease. And then I'm going to take my pin and sew that. So again, I'm finger pressing. I do not touch this with an iron until I have fully assembled my block. And Laundry Basket Quilts has lots of videos also on this. But I found my blocks were flatter if I did not go crazy with the iron like I like to.
Interesting.
I resisted. It was really hard because I am the queen of steam. I just love to steam them. So I'm laying that on here, and you can see I'm just trimming off just a hair here. Tiny, tiny bit. Just a little bit there. And some I had nothing to trim except for the little corner. So I'm just gonna put this guy, actually I should do it proper. There we go. I'll lay that on there. See the shortcuts you do? And it's, like I said, I really recommend doing a practice block or two. So why not have a runner? So I'm trimming that. So once I have this corner done, I would go ahead and assemble all my pieces. But basically I'm gonna do this 4 times, right? I'm gonna have 4 sets. I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm laying this right on there. And again, you can take your ruler, put your dots. You can see my dots here. So I can come up here, put my dot. So in a perfect world, these would line up. I would have my dot. I could go back and remark that dot. And I'm going to sew this just across here. Watch yourself.
It's hard when you don't have your knee lift, eh?
And there we go. I'm very close. So I could unpick that.
Well, let's see this first.
Yeah. So, like I say, you're just going to do 4 of those. And then you'll have your completed block. And I did go ahead and I made 2 of the first block here. And I did lay that out as a possible runner. That was one option. But, oops, sorry. But I decided I like 3 of those better.
Much better.
Yeah, so I just added a border and some binding, and this was a great way to practice using this ruler and doing the blocks. Then, if you want to move on and make the quilt, you've done all the cutting. You've done all of the cutting. It's just where you're placing the pieces and the colors. And what I did inside the pattern, she does have all of the colors she used, but I took a piece of paper and I made basically a map for myself. So there are 23 colors in this quilt, and I just numbered them. And then when I was cutting out, and it will tell you in the pattern which number you're using. So you'll know which colors you're using for each block. And I'll just lay, so this is her map and the colors that she had used. And then I just went through and kind of looked at the shade, how deep the colors were, and then I decided how deep the colors I wanted to use. And once I had my little map, I just went ahead and made the blocks. I did choose to work from the middle out. She did start at the top and work your way across, so you can do this any way that you like, but for myself, I found it more exciting to have that middle one, and then on my design wall I slowly started adding pieces, and it let me see how happy I was with my colors. And this pattern also is available with, it's either 6 or 7 colors. So if you don't want to do this many colors, we can order it in for you. She does have another version that doesn't have quite so many colors. Right, thank you for joining us today, and I hope you will give the Alaska ruler a try and then move on to the Alaska quilt. Thanks.